Hey guys, and welcome to my channel if you're new here. Before I get started, I just want to say that this is not going to be a happy video. This is going to be pretty sad, and I'm sorry about that, but this is just something I feel like I need to talk about, and it's going to be all about him. So if you want to know more, stick around. I've only really talked about this on Snapchat and Instagram, so if you don't follow me there, you wouldn't really know this. So let me kind of summarize everything for you. About 3 weeks ago now, Andy started acting different. It was a Monday, I don't know which one now, but a few weeks ago. He just wasn't acting himself. He didn't have energy, he stopped eating. So that was kind of like, okay, there's obviously something wrong with him. So I took him to the vet, got him in by that Friday, and they ran a bunch of blood work, and a lot of his numbers came back really low. By the way, I forgot to mention, I'm going to do my best not to cry in this video, but it's very emotional. I mean, my dogs are my family, they're my best friends, so I will do my best. I can't promise anything. As I was saying, they ran a bunch of blood work. They decided to do a valley fever test and a tick test just to kind of figure out what was happening. They put him on 2 medications. I believe it was prednisone and doxycycline. So we went home and we had to wait for those tests to come back. A few days later, they came back. He has valley fever and his numbers were really low. So it was kind of weird that he was experiencing like really bad symptoms when his numbers were so low. So I was kind of like, okay, there could be something else going on. And at the time of his first appointment, she was kind of like, you know, if he still is acting bad, there's obviously something else. She kind of mentioned it could be cancer, and she was like, well, we can do x-rays. There's no guarantee we'll see anything. So we held off on the x-rays and decided to just do the blood work. After about a week of medication, I talked to the vet again. I said, he's acting better, but he's still not completely normal. Yeah, and it just depended on the day. Like some days he seemed like regular good old Andy, and then other days he didn't want to move. He hardly would go outside, didn't want to go for WALKs, which are one of his favorite things. So there was something still wrong. I ended up making him another appointment, and we went in. This is probably about like a week ago. Anyway, we went in and we decided to do x-rays. So they did x-rays and it didn't look like anything really, and they brought him back into the room and they were like, hey, we didn't see anything, can we also do an ultrasound? And I was like, of course. They did the ultrasound, and after that they called me, and my friend was with me at the time. They called us into the back room and said, we want you to look at this. They had taken a picture, an ultrasound picture of his spleen, and on that there was this big dark black area. They said, that's not normal. We need to have a specialist look at it. So they gave me the name of the specialist, and they actually called and made the appointment for me the next morning. By the way, this is just a summary. I'm sure I'm like missing some details, but the next morning we got our appointment at a veterinary specialist over in Scottsdale, and we took Andy in. So we took Andy in, and it was we got put in a room, and it was really scary because like the doctors would come in and kind of check on him, and then they left, and at one point he stopped breathing, and it was the most horrifying thing I've like ever experienced. So that was really hard. So they checked him out, and they kind of started going through what they wanted to do with him. They looked at his blood work. My vet had sent everything over. So they looked at his blood work and they said, we want to do x-rays, because the ones that my vet had done they didn't do his whole chest. So they told us they wanted to do the x-rays, redo some blood work. They have to make sure that if they go into surgery, you know, he's gonna make it through surgery, which at the time, after he had stopped breathing for like a few seconds or minutes, it wouldn't be minutes. After he had stopped breathing, I was like, oh my God, he's not even gonna make it through surgery. So they told us that it most likely was cancer, or it was like tumors, I guess, on his spleen, and that it's common in Goldens, so this is something that they've seen before, and they told us, you know, kind of like what to expect. It could be cancer, and if it's cancer, he probably wouldn't live that long. They said maybe 6 to 9 months, but they are not like specialized in that, so they didn't want to say like, oh yeah, absolutely, like this is his lifespan. We ended up leaving him there so that he could do his x-rays, and after that we got a call and they said, hey, we are going to do surgery now. So from that point, they did surgery. I kind of waited like all day to hear from them, but what they did was they opened him up and they took out his spleen. They ended up telling me that his spleen was like covered in these tumors. He had them everywhere. And one in particular was bleeding, and it was bleeding into his abdomen, which is why on certain days he would be okay, and then other days he would be not great. It just depended on if it was bleeding or not. So it was bleeding into his abdomen at that time. They said they took out 4 cups of blood. Like, Andy, and my vets kept saying Andy was overweight. I'm like, he's not overweight. He eats the same he always eats, and he's never been overweight. It was all that blood sitting in his abdomen. And what would happen is he'd bleed and his body would absorb it, and then he'd kind of go back to acting normal, and then it'd bleed again and he'd have another bad day. So it just continued for like the 2 weeks that this was all happening. At the time that they took the spleen out, they also looked at everything else in there, because if it was the cancer that they thought it was, it spreads really fast, and so they checked his lungs, and they were gonna biopsy the liver, but when they got in there, they realized that his liver looked fine, so they didn't end up doing that. They just took the spleen out, and they sent it in for testing to see if the little tumors are malignant or benign. I got a call. They said, hey, he's done with surgery. We'll let you know if we send him to the ICU overnight, or if they would have the person that they had at that vet watch him. So I got another call later, and it was from the emergency vet, the ICU people. They had transferred Andy over there so that he could be watched all night and make sure he has no problems, because he was having some irregular heartbeat issues, which I guess is common after this type of stuff, but still it's something you want to monitor, because most of the time it needs to be treated. His didn't need to be treated, luckily. And then the next day we got a call and they said, hey, he's doing okay, you can come pick him up at 3, because he had to stay 24 hours in the ICU. You should see his shaved tummy. Old man sound. So we picked him up and we paid for everything, and they said, you'll get a call in about 3 to 5 days and we'll let you know the results of the tumors on his spleen. Because that was the most important thing. It was good that they got it out, but if it was something that could spread, that's a problem. Saturday was the day that we picked him up. It's currently Thursday. So I picked him up Saturday, and that's when they had told me 3 to 5 days to find out what the tumors are. And I waited and waited, because they said, oh, you know, sometimes they get it early and you might hear Tuesday. Didn't hear Tuesday, didn't hear Wednesday. Got a call this morning. So I got a call this morning, and the specialist said that his cancer, or the tumor, is malignant, meaning it is cancer. They said that it's, even though they didn't see it everywhere inside of him, it's already spread. It spreads I'm trying so hard. It spreads through their blood, so even if you don't see it everywhere, it is there. And so she gave me the name of an oncologist, I believe that's what they're called. So we meet with them in November. That's as soon as they could get us in. And we're going to talk about our options. The lady said that if it goes untreated, he probably has about 2 to 4 months to live. Differs depending on the dog, but that's the average. If we treat it, he could have up to 9 months to live. Dogs typically handle chemo better than people. They don't get as sick, but it's not a lasting thing. It's not to make them have years of life left. It only prolongs it for a little bit. So I'm gonna go talk to them because we'll decide what's best for Andy. You know, I don't want to treat it if he's gonna be miserable. I strongly believe that if your dog is not having a quality life, a good life, that you shouldn't keep them around just because you can't handle your life without your pet. I think it's really unfair to do that to an animal, to keep it here, make them suffer just because, you know, you want them around. So we're gonna figure it out. I'm not saying we're gonna go put him down and like that's that. No, we're gonna find out what's gonna work for him. If he is in pain, you know, how can we make him not be in pain? And basically just give him the best life that we can until, you know, he can't go on anymore. So we're planning on taking him, my mom and I are planning on taking him on a lot of adventures, gonna get some cheeseburgers in there, gonna take him camping and up to the snow, and we'll just figure out what we can do for the time he has left. If you're curious, he has Hemangiosarcoma. Hemangiosarcoma. That's what his is. A lot of dogs get it, so maybe this video can help somebody if you're going through the same thing. I know Goldens are prone to it, German Shepherds, I'm sure a bunch of other breeds. It's unfortunately really common. Andy's my best friend. I've had him in my life for 8 years. He's been through everything with me. Like, this dog has been through everything with me. We've college hopped, we've moved all across the US, we've lived in Montana, Flagstaff, Arizona, Maine, 2 places in Maine, Tennessee, back to Arizona. We've lived everywhere together. We've done everything together. So it's hard. He is the nicest dog and the most well-behaved dog I've ever been around. And like, I'm not just saying that because he's my dog, because I have Yuka, and Yuka's terrible. Yuka's like, doesn't like people, doesn't like other dogs. Andy loves everybody, and everybody loves Andy. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I'm not doing this to make money or, you know, anything like that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to upload it to YouTube, but I felt like I had a lot to say, so I couldn't just post about it because a lot of places limit your posting. So I decided to put it on here. With all that said, I am definitely going to be making a whole separate video for him of all his puppy pictures, adult pictures, old videos that I have. Just gonna combine everything and smush it together. So I have one big video of him. Yeah, he gets his cone off on the 25th. That's when he gets all his staples out. He is cut from like his chest down. So he's got a big old cut. It bruised really bad. The bruising's going away now. But he's doing okay for now. So we'll keep him that way until, you know, it's his time. I think that's all I wanted to say. So thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry this wasn't a happy video, but I wanted to make it. And feel free to leave a comment about anything, whether your pet's been through this or you have any ideas for making his remaining life the best that it can be. Whatever you want to say, just be nice. Leave a comment. I will see you in the next video. I'm going to try and upload a happy video next time. I have an idea for Halloween and I'm gonna try and get that done soon. So I will see you in the next video. Bye. Oh, he's sleeping. He says bye.